If you want to read this article, just go to justinstellman.com/A27. Why you should read more books. I've always been a big reader. Sometimes I get off the bandwagon of reading for a month or two, but I always get back on. And lately I've been reading a lot. And by reading, I mean reading actual books. I also like to read articles online, but I don't consider reading online articles as part of my personal growth. I remember when I was in high school, I read the Bible cover to cover about 3 to 4 times. I was a bit of a crazy person back then. The longest book I've ever read might have to be Atlas Shrugged. That was fun because I read that during my year-long trip when I traveled around the world in 2002. It got lonely on the road and traveling by yourself, and it made me think of this quote. "We read to know that we're not alone," by William Nicholson. I read recently a statistic that said among all American adults, the average number of books read or listened to in the last year is 12, and the median number is 5. In other words, half of adults read more than 5 books and half read fewer. Neither number is significantly different from previous years. And another quote that said, and according to the Huffington Post, 28% of Americans have not read a book in the past year. Huffington Post also has this to say about some pretty successful people who read. Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year, which breaks down to about 1 book per week. Mark Cuban reads about 3 hours every single day. Elon Musk is an avid reader, and when asked how he learned to build rockets, he said, "I read books." Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook resolved to read a book every 2 weeks throughout 2015. Oprah Winfrey selects one of her favorite books every month for her book club for members to read and discuss. It isn't surprising to me that so few people read, and it appears many successful people do read. Why would there be a correlation between the amount of success one achieves in life and the amount they read? For me, it makes sense because successful people, and I'm not just referring to monetary success, whether they know it or not, are in the process of personal growth. It takes a lot to be successful. You have to have discipline, motivation, confidence, self-awareness, staying on track, not caring what people think, etc. Not only are these personal growth qualities something you get because you read a lot, the act of reading itself is accomplishing a mini goal that requires all of these characteristics, but also because you learn those qualities from the stories you read in those books. For example, if you want to be successful financially and read 15 to 20 books a year about wealth, it's going to affect you on many levels. The very act of having discipline to learn a new skill will itself be giving you the unseen attributes that will allow you to have the ability to bring wealth into your life. Not many people have the discipline to read that many books. So right off the bat, you're separating yourself into the type of person, no matter what you read, that's going to bring financial abundance into your life. Then there's the actual content of what you're reading. If the content itself is teaching you skills about how to build wealth, then you've won on 2 fronts. The very act of reading itself requires a sharp mind, focus, attention, discipline, and time management. All skills that are required to be successful. It's important to separate the act of reading from the content of what you're reading. When the content is something that aligns with your core life mission, then you've won now on 2 fronts. It really baffles me that so few people actually read. To some degree, I understand though, because life is just so busy. For me, I've had to carve out time to read and cut out other things in my life that got in the way of that. For me, that means sleeping a little bit less. As soon as I get a better handle on my daily routine, I'll be able to go to sleep much earlier, which will give me more time I need to sleep. Because reading is so hard to do, so few people do it. There's a barrier to entry, and I think that's a good thing. It's easy to sit down in front of the TV and watch your favorite TV shows. It's not easy to rearrange your entire schedule so you can get some time, quality time alone with a good book. Books are so great because you can go so deep with them. That's why they're always better than movies when movies are created out of books. The movie actually or usually tells you how things are. Books require you to use your own imagination to picture how things are. Movies don't allow us to do that. They do that for us. If you were to listen to a 1-hour interview with an author talking all about her latest novel, she couldn't even touch the surface of what's in that book. Written words on paper allow a person who can't speak well to bring you into their world for a short duration of time. Writing allows for creativity on both the author's end and the reader's end. The reader gets to picture what the author is describing. It's a beautiful thing. When I was reading Atlas Shrugged, I could picture the streets of New York City in 1941 and the big business that was happening by the beautiful way that Ayn Rand described the city in the fall. Ayn Rand, whether you believe in her philosophies or not, was an amazing author, and she was amazing what she did. She was able to build an entirely fictional novel around some hardcore philosophical belief systems. It was genius. There was a few court scenes where the defendant would take 40 pages espousing his philosophical insights on who man is. It was pretty profound from a literary perspective. That book is literally a work of art. Ayn Rand could never espouse that much information so passionately in an interview. It just can't be done. Books allow us to go very deep into particular subject matter, which is something people can't seem to do these days. Plus, reading is just a lot of fun when you're reading something that you're passionate about. I like to explore all kinds of subject matters, from quantum physics to religion and spirituality, success principles, and more. I've never really been a big fan of fiction unless it's something like Catcher in the Rye or Atlas Shrugged. These types of books are only using fiction to tell a bigger story, to espouse a philosophy. A story for a story's sake has never really interested me. I intend to put a book list on this website as soon as I can, so in case you're interested in what I'm reading, maybe I'll share it one day. And maybe one day I can put together a Book of the Month club as well. When I look back at certain times in my life, I can remember a book I was reading during that time. It's kind of nostalgic, like when I hear a song on the radio, it takes me back. The same is true with books. The nostalgia might even be more strong with books because you're using your imagination more than you would be just hearing a song on the radio. Documentaries are also something I love to watch. I've had a lot of people write me over the years asking what documentaries I watch, and perhaps I'll put them on this site. I could easily make a YouTube playlist of documentaries I like, which I have now done. At the top of our website, you'll see a link that says documentaries. I have a lot to do on this website and a lot of updating to do, so I will keep you updated on all of that. Reading keeps you inspired as well. If you're feeling down or depressed, reading is a great way to overcome that. Perhaps you're feeling like a problem in your life is insurmountable. The beautiful thing about books and reading is that currently we have about 7.7 billion people on the planet and probably billions of people that have lived before us. Chances are pretty high that someone alive currently, or even somebody that's now dead, could have written something that touched your life with their words. Writing a book is like a timeless gift back to humanity that will carry on for hundreds of years into the future. There's no doubt about it. The wisdom of the world is available to you through reading good literature. And reading takes you into another world. Sometimes we want a good fictional novel to help us get out of the day-to-day problems and stresses of our lives. Perhaps we don't like how our lives are going. Reading how someone else has overcome your same struggle will help you see that other people have the exact same problems as you do. You can learn how they overcame the odds and show you how to do it as well. And reading keeps your mind engaged. Reading requires focus and the ability to stay engaged with a singular piece of content for a duration of time. And the mind likes that. The mind doesn't like distractions. Distractions do create small dopamine hits, which are actually addicting, but the mind likes to figure things out, problem solve, if you will. While you're reading, your mind is processing information and creating images about what the author is describing. All of this is happening at the same time. The mind likes to have a singular focus, and reading provides exactly that. Reading also improves your vocabulary. When you're reading a good book and the author uses a word you don't know, generally you can figure out the context and then apply some meaning to that word. Many new Kindles and other e-reader devices have the ability to quickly look words up on the fly as you're reading. It's pretty incredible what's possible these days. Having a good vocabulary gives you options and choices when communicating with other people. Communication might be one of the most powerful skills a person could develop. Being able to use words with power comes from reading and learning. If you want to have an impact on other people, learn the definitions of more words. Reading changes your perspective. This is one of the best aspects of reading a good book. It helps you to see things in a brand new way. This happened to me when I read the classic A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. I began to see how the United States government acted from another perspective. When you read, you get the perspective of whoever is writing the book or the characters in the story. Having a brand new perspective on a person, idea, or issue can really help you have more compassion and patience when dealing with them in your daily life. Reading is something anybody can do. You just have to do it in order to develop a love for it. It takes time to develop a love for something. It's like any relationship. The more time you spend together, the stronger your love for each other grows. Another aspect of reading I really like is that I'm disconnected from everybody and everything when I'm immersed in a good book. I don't really answer emails. I don't take phone calls. Usually it's a nice and quiet place and I can be in the world of my own choosing. I don't have to bend over to the demands and pressures that other people want to put on me when I'm reading. If nothing else, reading is an incredible escape from constantly being pinged with emails, with texts, calls, or messages from other people who want something from you. I highly encourage you to spend more time reading. Find a good book that you know you're going to love and start cultivating the habit of spending 30 minutes a day doing something you want to do and investing in yourself. It'll be the best thing you ever did. You'll thank me for it. As Cassandra Clare says, only the weak-minded refuse to be influenced by literature and poetry. Again, if you want to read this article, just go to justinstellman.com or make a